Hi there, this is Ranjit and have been using the Samsung Galaxy Note 8, the Indian variant, for almost 2.5 weeks. And in this review, I'm going to share my experience and I'll divide the review between pros and cons, so you can decide if this smartphone is the right smartphone for you or not. But before we proceed, here are the specs for the Galaxy Note 8. As you can see, it is powered by the Exynos 8895 chipset, which is an octa-core processor. It has a 6.3-inch Quad HD screen and it has protected by Gorilla Glass. It has 6 GB of RAM, 64 GB of internal storage, and finally we get that dual camera setup with the Note 8, and other specs are on the screen. So let's divide this review between the pros and cons, what I liked about this device and what are the things that I did not like about this device. And if you look at this device, it resembles very closely to the Samsung Galaxy S8 Plus. This one is also having that infinity display that Samsung likes to call. The aspect ratio is actually different from most of the other Android phones. With normal Android phones, you get an aspect ratio of 16:9. Here you get 18:5:9, hence it's a lot more taller. But though it is having that 6.3-inch screen, it is still comfortable to hold in the hand because the width is not that wide. So let's start with what are the things that I really liked. And the first thing obviously is the screen. The screen is one of the best screens that you can get as of now in the market. Yes, let's see iPhone X, but as of now I would say this is the best screen that you can get. And that aspect ratio is actually very immersive. For example, when you're consuming multimedia content like watching YouTube videos, etc., it's a very immersive experience. Barring one con, I'll talk about it. But in terms of display, I have no problems. One of the best displays that you get in the market. And also in terms of brightness, the screen can actually go very, very bright. It's the brightest screen as of now. It can go up to 1200 nits, and that is insane. For example, the iPhones do max out at about 650. So it's very bright. So even in direct sunlight, peak at 12 o'clock, if you even use this phone outdoors with the auto brightness setting, this screen will be easily visible. So one of the best screens that you're getting. And also the auto brightness calibration has been done very well. I didn't have to tinker around with the auto brightness. That is generally a problem in many of the phones. On this one, it's calibrated very well. But one thing to note is that, and again, this is partly a con, though it is having that Quad HD display, Samsung by default puts the screen resolution at normal HD resolution. That's around 1080p to conserve battery life. I'll talk about that later. And I have been testing this device mostly with the default resolution setup. It looks fine, but yeah, you can bump it up to Quad HD. But if you do that, battery life decreases a little bit. I'll talk about the battery life in the later part of the video. But let's move on to the next thing, what I liked about this device. Now moving to the build quality. Again, the build quality is very good. Premium build quality, one of the best build quality. But one con is that it is slightly on the heavier side, definitely. And I even showed it to my cousin who was using the Note 5. He picked it up, he liked the phone, but immediately after about 20 seconds, he said the phone is slightly heavy. So that is one thing you have to bear with it. I got used to it after 3 days. First 3 days, I felt it was very heavy, but now it's about 2.5 weeks. I've got used to the weight. But initially, if you pick up the Note 8, you will feel that it is really heavy. Many reviewers don't point out to this, but that is also one thing you have to note. So if you're going for the Note 8, go to a store first, pick it up and see if you're okay with that weight. I got used to it after about 3-4 days, but your mileage might vary. Now, the one thing that makes the Note lineup very different from any other smartphone is this S Pen. I won't go into depth regarding S Pen and all the features. If you have used earlier devices of the Note, you have almost the same functionality, but yeah, as it's Samsung, they have added some new features. For example, I really like this live message kind of thing, and you can scrub up stuff on this and write. For example, and it creates an animated GIF that you can use anywhere. So it's a fun tool, I would say. But personally, I have not been using this S Pen a lot. I find some of the things interesting. I would say, for example, you can just jot down note. For example, this is that live thing, as you can see, it gives you that. So nice effects and stuff like that. I have used this feature quite a bit. Is that again, we had this feature even in the Note 7. You can just pull out the S Pen and start jotting down notes like this here, and they will be saved. And with the earlier Note series, you could just write it up to this first screen, but here you can just press this and continue writing. So that is one thing that I've noticed, but I'm not a person who uses the S Pen a lot. So regarding S Pen, it's up to you. I know some people who use the S Pen a lot. So if you're a person who uses the S Pen, yeah, you definitely know what the Note can do. And now moving to another thing, that is regarding the camera. Here I would say Samsung has done an incredible job. This is the first Samsung device that actually has that dual camera setup. And I have to say Samsung has really up the camera level. I have to say, as of now, currently, as of now making this video, I didn't test the LG V30, so I can't comment on that. But as of now, this is the best camera that I have seen on a smartphone. Yes, I will also be testing the iPhone 8 Plus and the iPhone X when it comes out. But as of now, the camera performance was incredible. As you can see from the camera samples, most of the casual shots that I took, and all these shots were in the normal auto mode, not in the pro mode. Then also they came out very well. It also has that portrait mode features like we found on the iPhone 7 Plus, and you can also adjust the background blur on the fly with this one. So that's a nice thing. But even when I didn't use this portrait mode, as the wide angle lens is having a f1.7 aperture, even with normal shots, as you can see, the bokeh, the background blur came out very well. So in terms of camera performance, I was thoroughly impressed with this phone. So again, if you take a lot of pictures and you think you might be using that 2x zoom, which can be useful at times, and that portrait mode, then definitely this is one of the best camera smartphones that you can get. I also took some video samples, so here are the same for your reference. Recording this quick sample with the front facing camera of this Note 8, and the audio is also via that. And as you can see guys, I'm just walking, so this should give you an idea how is the video if you do typical stuff like vlogging and stuff with the front facing camera. I'm just going to walk again, so this should give you an idea if you're sort of a vlogger, what would be the experience if you use the Note 8's front facing camera. Now I'm shooting this footage at 4K, and even at 4K you can use this zoom function, as you can see. But let's test how is the stabilization. Note 8 claims that this is the first Android phone that has optical stabilization on both the cameras. So yeah, as you can see, I'm walking and this is in 4K, as you can see, and you can even use the zoom feature, as you can see. Let me just walk a little bit with the zoomed in. I'm walking with zoomed in, and this is zoom out. So this is a very quick sample at 4K with the Note 8. Another quick sample at 4K, and we're going to test the focusing. As you can see, close up object and far away. And again, the Note is doing a very good job. As you can see, wall, close up object and far away object. So as you can see, in terms of focusing, even in video at 4K, the focusing speed is actually really good on this Note 8, thanks to that dual pixel technology that it has. So in terms of camera, I'm thoroughly impressed with this one. I will try to, I'm getting the iPhone 8 Plus, I've already ordered it. So when I get it, I might do a comparison with that one. If you guys are interested, do let me know in the comments section, and maybe even with the iPhone X when it comes out. But as of now, I would say I'm thoroughly impressed with the camera performance. And actually, the dual camera has optical image stabilization, and you saw that even with 4K video when I was walking, the video was actually very well done and it was stabilized. So if you think you'll be shooting a lot of 4K video, then you can consider this Note 8, because that stabilization even on the 4K was actually done very well. Now moving to the battery life, here I would say I sit in the middle. It's not bad, it's not great. It has a 3300 milliamp hour battery, and though it is having that 6.3 inch screen, I was very skeptical about the battery life when I got this device. Will it last for a typical working day? For me, a typical working day is, let's say you get up 7 o'clock in the morning. Will the phone last till the end of the day? That is about 11:30 at night. And in those scenarios, yes, the Note did last me Yes, it was hovering just around 10% of the battery life at end of the day, but it did last me for a typical full working day. And in terms of screen on time, I was hovering anywhere between 4 to 4.5 hours of screen on time. And I did check this with a couple of you guys on Twitter, and most of you have said the same thing, that it lasts for a typical working day. But again, don't expect that it will last for the next day. So for most of you, it will last for a typical working day. But again, if you're a very, very heavy user, for example, if you do a lot of gaming and stuff, you might have to top it up in the evenings. And yes, you have to charge it every day at night. Now moving to other things, for example, general usage and stuff. In terms of general usage, I didn't have any problems. And also in terms of responsiveness, for the most part, I would say the phone was very responsive. It has that new Samsung Experience UI 8.5 version, and it handles the phone for the most part without any issues, I have to say. And I did not notice a lot of stutteriness or lagginess while I was using the phone. And one place where Samsung really surprised me was in terms of RAM management. Yes, it has 6 gigabytes of RAM, and I think so that really helps. But in terms of RAM management, the RAM management was done very well on this device. As you can see, I have tons and tons of apps running on this one, and I simply don't bother about it. And I just tap those apps, they just load, as you can see. So I don't have to worry about these. And RAM management has been done very well on this device, so you don't have to worry about it. And in terms of daily usage, I would say for the most part, it is a very fluid experience. If I have to do nitpicking, yes, the pixel sometimes in animations is slightly more smoother. But again, for most of the users, you will simply not notice that. So surprised that the RAM management has been done so well on the Note, and I think so that 6 gigabytes of RAM is really helping the Note 8. Now let's move to the things that I did not like with this device. These are the cons. And the first thing is that I don't know why Samsung did this. They have put this great screen. It's great for multimedia consumption. But it just has a single mono speaker here at the bottom. It is very similar to the speaker quality that you get with the S8. So it's good enough, but not great. I don't know why Samsung didn't give a dual speaker setup like the iPhone 7 or the iPhone 8. Even at max volume, when I was watching a lot of videos, I always felt that the volume level could have been a little bit higher. You get used to it. But again, I feel it's a bummer that Samsung didn't offer that dual speaker setup on this Note 8. Now, another thing, and again, this is a nitpicking, but as you can see, I'm using this with a case. Because both the slides are glass. Yes, it's Gorilla Glass, but you have to be careful. After my experience of the Galaxy S7 Edge, which I dropped once and it cracked. So I'm using it with the case. And another thing why I'm using it with the case is that at least this black color is a fingerprint magnet. Within 5 minutes of using it, you get all those stains. So it's advisable to go with the case. And this is the case that was actually given in the box. Again, check out the unboxing video if you want to know more. So use a case because it's a fingerprint magnet, and within 5 minutes, it looks ugly otherwise. Also, one thing I do not like is that, yes, it supports fast charging and also wireless charging, wireless fast charging. But even with the fast charger that is supplied, it is just a Qualcomm Quick Charger 2, not Qualcomm Quick Charge 3 or 4. So it takes almost 1 hour, 30 minutes for it to charge, which is fine, I would say, for the most part. For example, the iPhone 8 does not even come with a fast charger. So luckily, we are getting a fast charger. But again, if we look at the competition, the OnePlus 5 charges a lot faster than this one. So definitely it takes a little bit of time to quickly charge. So not a deal breaker, but not the quickest in charging if we compare with the competition. Now moving to this, and I know every one of you might be knowing this, the location of this fingerprint scanner is in a weird position and you have to adjust your grip to reach to the same. And that is the reason I'm actually not using the fingerprint scanner a lot. The fingerprint scanner is very responsive, as you can see. If you touch it, it unlocks, but reaching it is sort of difficult. And yes, Note has a lot of other features to unlock, for example, face unlock, iris. I'm using a combination of face unlock, and as you can see, it works most of the time. I wouldn't say it works every time. As you can see, I'm trying the face unlock. It works 90% of the time, and for the 10% of the time, I'm using that fingerprint scanner. But again, I don't like the location of the fingerprint scanner on this one. And also coming to, and this might not be applicable for a lot of people, but I know some people who are very picky about the audio quality. The audio quality from the 3.5mm headphone jack is just okay. It's not that great, I would say, because many of the other premium smartphones have a lot better sounding DAC on the 3.5mm jack. This is sort of very, very flat in the output. Yes, Samsung does offer us some equalization options, but out of the box, I would say the headphone output is sort of very flat if you are sort of an audiophile and too much into the audio department. Again, yes, this might be applicable to a very small audience, but I thought just wanted to share that one also. And lastly, regarding the battery, Samsung decided to put just a 3300 milliamp hour battery on this one, and we know the reason why. What happened with the Note 7? So I feel Samsung was a little bit conservative in terms of battery life. Yes, as I mentioned, it can last for a typical working day, but at the end of the day, most of the time, I was hovering around 10 to 15% of the time. So yes, I feel Samsung is getting really conservative with the battery life. And if you're sort of very, very heavy user, you would have to top it up in the evenings. So to sum it up, I would say it's a very good Android smartphone, certainly one of the best as of now. The standout features for me is the camera on this one. The camera is one of the best as of now. And also, if you use that S Pen, that is one thing that is really special on the Note series. Again, if you already have the Samsung Galaxy S8 Plus, I don't feel this is a must-have upgrade. But if you are confused between the Samsung Galaxy S8 Plus and this Note 8, I feel the Note 8 is slightly better, especially in India, because the price difference is not that much in India. And with this Note 8, you are getting that dual camera setup, the S Pen, and that 6 gigabytes of RAM. So again, you have to decide what is important for you or not. I've also posted some other videos with this Note 8. Again, link for those will be in the YouTube show notes. So guys, that's it for now for this video. If you found it helpful, I'll appreciate if you can click the like button. And if you're still not subscribed to my YouTube channel, hit that subscribe button. Thanks for watching. This is Ranjit, and I hope to see you in my next video.